Good morning, everybody. Everybody, we back. Coach's Corner is back, baby. We back. Hey, living live and well. Got my guy. Well, y'all know my guy. You know, he used to do all the driving right now. He decided to sit over on the opposite side, and we got somebody else driving. What's the gentleman's name that's driving now, Spider?
Brian driving us today.
Brian driving us today. You know, Spider don't like to, hey, man, that cat, they had to take his license, man. Spider was driving too fast. People say, hey, we can't get in. Hey, he's not slowing down. He's not stopping. But, hey, we right here. We back again. You can see how excited I am. I'm just like a little kid in the candy store. Hey, running down the aisle, my little grandson was saying, hey, coach, can we go down the aisle and get, I said, what you want? He said, I want some toys. You know, now I'm just like a kid
So
back
you,
with my
you
toy.
that person. I see.
Yeah, come on, Spider, talk to me.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming back to our network. Like you said, your word is your bond, and
yes, sir.
The information with Coach's Corner, you give people all around the country. We're excited. You're a historian. I think we're missing historians now.
Yes.
And for this continue as you do your podcast, go around the country, people find things they didn't know about the world of amateur and professional sport.
That's right. And a lot of times, Spider, I was sitting back. You the one that got me originated into radio with you and the great, late, great Roger B. Brown. Mm-hmm. And Spider, I used to listen to you guys. I mean, every Sunday. It wasn't a Sunday that didn't go by.
Appreciate that.
After a football game, a basketball game, whatever sporting event that was going on during that time, that era, man, I would listen to you and B, man, and I miss B. Because I used to see B a lot, man.
I miss B too. Roger B is
but you was his right-hand man.
Yeah, he gave
Spider,
me
Spider the outsider.
Yeah, he gave me the where I am today to have a media outlet when I didn't have no experience. I started out with a lady named Carmen Pagano, who gave me the start to be her producer, and I hosted her show. Then he asked me to come on his show, be a guest. From there on, it was history. And then this here in Dallas, Fort Worth, it was KKDA K104.
Yes.
And he had a sports show every day from 6 to 7 and Sundays for 2 hours. And for somebody to put trust in me to run their ship,
right, when they
out of town, when they're not around, that was called responsibility. And I got that from my Boy Scout days, Mr. Delmus Morton, who now in Grand Prairie, they named a junior high after him.
Really?
Formerly was Lee Junior High, and Mr. Morton was our scoutmaster.
Wow.
And our motto was be prepared.
Be prepared.
And I was always prepared for when I got into the radio industry. A lot of opportunities came my way as a writer for the Morning News, the Downtown Business News. We got to cover games, professional sport. So just I want to thank Roger B. Brown and his family, his sisters, Alicia. She's supposed to be have her own podcast with
Please.
With us.
I would like to meet her.
Their family. So I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Roger B. Brown. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Man, he was a legend to me. You know, I used to see B at the bookstore a lot out in Cedar Hill. And
he's a big reader.
Just reader. Before football season would start, I would go get Texas football, and then I would get, it used to be the Street and Smith.
My favorite magazine.
Okay, but I graduated up to another magazine. I can't recall the magazine I got right now, but once I get home, I look at it and I see it, and I say, yeah, that was the magazine. But those were my Bibles. And I tell any young coach, any parent, if you really want to know about schools, go get a Texas football magazine. If you got a young man, young man that's pursuing a college football career, we just had National Signing Day, which I think was Wednesday. And you got a lot of kids that still signing today. I think, shout outs to South Oak Cliff. I think they had something like
they got
11 or 12 guys that signed,
they
letter
got
of
a kid
intent.
going to Florida State recently.
Yeah, and they got a couple of kids going to SMU. So, shout out to them. And I know we're getting more and more coming in as the week progresses. But the thing about it is, the funny part, you can go get a Texas football magazine and you look at, I think it's like 1,400 schools, or 1,400 schools in the state of Texas. And you got all the way down from 6A to 1A. It's a lot of talent.
Well, to hear you say that, like National Signing Day, and I was doing my research, helping you with your show today, is about the Prairie View League with the Negro.
Hey, let's take the word help out. Spider, you are the insider. You are an encyclopedia. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. We sit, me and you done sit and tell the truth, Spider. We done sit and talk on the phone for hours.
Hours, yeah.
You know.
But one of the thing about, I hear you say signing day, as I was doing the research, I didn't realize, as we're going to talk about throughout the show, how many of these guys from a Prairie League were D1. They were, it was crazy. I couldn't believe that these guys was D1. You think, okay, then I go to a little small black high school or B or A high school, and then I wind up going to a black college. No, I go to a D1.
D1.
And now here are these kids now going D1, and everybody, you hear kids say, I just want to go to D1, signing day. I want my hat. I want my hat. Well, you may not fit the bill for that signing day.
I got a nephew right now, and shout outs to him, love him to death. Played at, matter of fact, South Grand Prairie, starting wide receiver, number 13 in your program.
Mm-hmm.
The kid, for whatever reason, has like 3 or 4 offers on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But he's holding out, and this is Saturday. This kid still hadn't signed his letter of intent because he wants to hold out for a bigger offer. I said, son, the transfer portals is what's really getting these kids. Because a kid will go off, a 4 or 5 star recruit, transferring into your program with 2 or 3 years of eligibility, that's hurting that high school kid. The kid that's a senior this year. Parents, I'm letting you in on something. I'm dropping you some science, some knowledge. We're spitting some knowledge to you. What's happening today is the transfer portal that started 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. That's hurting these high school kids, especially these seniors.
Well, it's hurting the portal. NCAA now, portal mean that you don't have to sit out a year. You can just, after the season over, you can go sign for a school you want to, whatever. Well, what had happened, it hurt that guy who was a wide receiver.
Yes, sir.
Because school looking for needs, not wants.
Yeah.
I need a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 6'4" kid over in North Carolina. I'm going to get him. He ain't happy over there.
Yeah.
So you say, well, North Carolina, you wanted me. Well, I'm sorry, sir. He got 2 years in. I'm going to get him.
Yeah. TCU went to the national championship game. I don't know if these guys played in that particular game.
Alabama kid.
Okay. Well, here's the funny part about it. New Mexico, which did send him a letter, the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, guess what? They signed 3 D1 transfers. Two of them came out of TCU. 4-star recruits. So now they might have been recruiting him at one particular time or getting ready to recruit my nephew. But guess what? He fell through the cracks because of these guys. They got a guy out of Southern California. Look it up, parents. And then they got 2 guys that transferred in from TCU. So they can get the opportunity to do what? To play. And this is really, honestly, a running school. Well, I didn't know this, which is real, rare today.
Well, TCU got Alabama, one of their top tier running backs. And what I like about the portal, I ain't a big fan. Some days all depends. But what I like about it, you can't go warehouse kids no more.
No.
Texas, University of Texas. You keep somebody from getting
Texas A&M.
A&M. You warehouse kids.
Call a spade a spade.
And people don't know what warehouse. That mean they get you, they put you on the shelf.
Yeah.
For 3-4 years. You don't play.
You don't play.
They tell you all this, but they keep somebody else from getting you.
Yes.
So now, the first person comes to my mind is the kid from Bowie High School.
Okay.
The quarterback. What was his name?
You talking about
Say 4 years, University of Texas, didn't play a damn hardly. I forgot, the kid was awesome. Played behind those 2, like Phil Sims' son, all them sorry kids.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about.
4 years. Got a degree, did all the things you're supposed to do.
Right.
Was college for, but this kid, you never saw his shine.
At all.
Now with the portal, say, okay then, even if I'm playing at Michigan, I can go play my next year at Jackson State or FAMU. I'm going to play.
But look at it like this. Had Tom Brady knew that he wasn't going to play until his 5th year at University of Michigan.
Oh, he'd been gone.
He'd been gone.
Oh,
and see, he only started that one season at Michigan. People don't even remember this. He was only like a 5th or 6th round draft pick. So now, just think if Tom Brady had that opportunity after 2 or 3 years, Tom Brady would have left. He'd have left. He never would have stayed at Michigan.
That was the portal. And then I think also the NCAA got smart because they said, let's start the portal before the NFL start building these little small, what they call it, form team, form league, like the XFL, USFL.
You call it a high class semi-pro league with benefits.
Right.
It's basically when you're talking about the Arena Football League, you're talking about the XFL, you're talking about the USFL. It's pro football. I get that. But those guys that could be on what? Somebody else's roster. But now look how the NFL is diluting that. By now, you can have as many as 20 players on the practice squad.
On the practice squad, yeah.
Think about that. So how you really, honestly, you got 53 on the, 53 men on your roster, 53 players on your main roster. Now you got 15 or 20 guys on the practice squad. When it used to be back in the day when the practice squad was started, you only had 6, maybe 8 players. You had less than 10 players.
Right.
Now you got guys that can just come out of an airport and say, okay, now he's on the Cowboys practice squad for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then he goes somewhere else. He's living out of a suitcase. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so now what he's doing what? He's going somewhere else for another 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, for us to get, you were talking about that. I know you're a big fan, and I just said, I'm going to make sure the coach have it right. You're a big fan, and I know that throughout the year you're going to get into it, is that I think I heard you say it was 1,400 schools in Texas.
Yes, sir.
But then we never realized where the black kids go. So as he got a chart about it, but the Prairie View League. Tell folks about the Prairie View League.
Prairie View League was started in 1940.
Okay.
Because the black athletes needed a league. Because let's go back to what was going on during that time. They weren't allowed to play in the UIL. So what they did, they formed their own league, which was the Prairie View League. And most of those trophies and athletes and things like that was basically by word, almost like word of mouth. But what they did, they formed their own leagues. They scheduled their own. They had their own schedules where they could go and play each other and compete for their own championships. Okay, let's go all the way back. 1940, Mr. Blair, another guru. Great. We nothing compared to this guy. Right. Mr. Blair told you out of his own mouth, Lincoln won a state championship in 1939, 1940? 1940, yeah. 1940. Yeah. Okay. Now let's go back and look at that. Look at the district alignments and everything back then. That's
what got me. I mean, I look at that, they realigned the districts, and that's just 2A.
That's just 2A.
Big A. They were big.
Yeah.
But I was just looking over there with, and you had to travel.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a District 2 with Lincoln, Booker T, Terrell, Fort Worth, which I am Terrell, and Wichita Falls.
Yes.
And then District 1, Kilgore, Longview, Marshall, Parish, all in that area.
In East Texas.
East Texas. Then you had the other side. You had Beaumont, Galveston, Houston, Wheatley, Yates, Port Arthur, Lincoln. And the last one with Austin, Corpus Christi,
San Antonio, Wheatley.
But that's the one threw me off.
Which one?
Corpus Christi, Solomon Coles. It's a black high school in Corpus Christi. And one thing of Corpus Christi, I think of Hispanic people.
I do too. And I'm gonna let you in on another secret. People don't even know who Emmett Scott is. Emmett Scott was right there out of Tyler, Texas. Right down the street from Texas College. So you're looking at a school that not only had athletes there, but they also had a black college there in that particular town where they could go right down the street and basically play football, get a scholarship if that's where they want to go.
And I think for people who are watching your podcast around the country, they said the Prairie View League. Well, ain't Prairie View University?
No.
But people didn't realize you have to have somewhere to go for your state championship. At that time, it was the biggest.
It was the biggest. It was the biggest. It was the biggest institution around,
which is known for engineers.
See, Prairie View A&M University, even though people say, well, it's connected to Texas A&M, I get that. But you forget one thing, before it was connected to Texas A&M, that was a school that had
it was a Prairie View School of Normal or something.
It was.
Yeah.
It was mechanical or something like that. You Prairie View people, hey, call in the show and let us know. We could be wrong. I could be wrong. Yeah. And I tell you all the time, I could be wrong. But during that particular time, you had these guys. I told you a story one time in 1992. I went to the Prairie View Relays. 1992, me and a partner of mine. Matter of fact, Alexander.
Now, you just throw me off. I never knew they had a Prairie View Relays.
Yes, sir. Barbara Jacket was the host coach. She was the greatest female coach to ever come through any college. Barbara Jacket. She recruited, matter of fact, she recruited all of Lincoln high school girls, almost 4x1 relay. Had one of the greatest sprinters, that's one of the greatest coaches right here in Dallas, called Beverly Day. The class of 1974 out of Lincoln High School. She's Beverly Humphrey now.
So the Prairie View relay, it was a male and female track?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It sure was. And they had other schools, Texas Southerns, you know, they had white schools, you know, black schools. All those schools came. And this was in 1992 March. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty good on dates, but right now, as you sleep a little bit, get a little older, your dates kind of slip. But it was March of 1992. So I decided to go inside the Hall of Fame, which was right there in the Baby Dome where they play basketball at PVU. Man, I got lost. I almost missed.
I'm about to go see that.
You got to go see that, Spider. I almost missed half the track meet looking at the memorabilia and things like that they had. And a lot of that memorabilia, yeah, they had some, but a lot of that stuff is destroyed. You know why it was destroyed? When you joined the UIL, the UIL was telling you now up under our umbrella in 1969, when you joined that league, all those records was destroyed, so everything had to start all over again. I tell you all the time, we talk about the Pouncey brothers. We talk about that great relay team that they had. And my wife's uncle, Coach Toles, who was a coach, shout out to her cousin Marcus, their father, which was a track coach over there, along with Floyd Agarhart, a great out of Turl, Texas, by way of Wiley College. When you look at that, you think about that for a minute, Spider. They just got that record had been in 1969. It never would have existed today.
Well, before you
never would have existed, Spider.
You said your wife, Ken People, is who?
William Toles, who was the head track coach over at Lincoln High School when the Pouncey brothers.
What was that? His brother was the principal?
Yeah, it was his brother. It was a lot of them Toles.
Yeah.
Dr. Toles was my principal.
Dr. Toles, that's him.
In elementary school. And you know what happened? I found that I could run because I ran from Dr. Toles. You said, what's wrong with you? Because I was playing with a little girl in the hall in the 5th grade. She hollered, stop. And with Dr. Toles was maybe about 6'2", but he looked to be about 7 feet tall. In spite of I ran, and what he did, he reached for me. In spite, I went right between his legs. He said, where's that little boy? And then I went to the classroom. I sat down, Spider, and the teacher said, who you looking for, Doc? He said, I want to see that young man right there. And when he saw me, Spider, I was scared to death. Spider, I just knew I was in trouble. But he told me, he said, son, I want to see you run track next year. And this was I was in the 5th grade. So I started running track in 6th grade at Joseph J. Rose Elementary. But getting back to the Prairie View Leagues, that record, I almost like to not see. And I can't tell people from Lincoln this. They very, very biased against that. That record I almost like to not stood. I did my research.
Well, you know, one thing about the Prairie View League, I heard you say you're right about the records, is that a guy out of Fort Worth, Jap Jones,
yes, sir.
Willis Johnson, he one of the guy who started to make sure the records were recognized, that UIL wouldn't go out the winner. It's almost like the AFL and the NBA when they merged. We're going to start right here. ABA said, no, Dr. J and George Irvin, they numbers stand. George, and the AFL said, no, Jerry, Gary, Mike Gary, and everybody else record, they stand. Okay. You're going to add them to them.
It's like big artist Gilmore, who's still with us today. Came out of what, Louisville? Come out of Kentucky?
Kentucky something,
you know, big artist.
Big artist.
Yeah, he was 7'2", 7'3". And people had a big fro, and his fro made him look like he was gigantic.
He was giant.
Because them dudes had fros back then. Dr. J had his fro. You know, Cincy Powell, and I was intending to tell you this, just passed away 2 weeks ago.
Oh, he did?
Cincy Powell, he was a substitute teacher. The guy that's coming on the show, that's going to be with us. The coach, Coach Ham, who's, by the way, coaching over at Carter High School, but he's going to join us. And he had gave me some information on Cincy Powell.
But Cincy Powell was a Dallas Chaparral. He played in the ABA.
Donnie Freeman.
Yeah.
Paul Silas.
One thing about Cincy Powell, a lot of people don't know, he had the first restaurant in Dallas on Redbird Lane.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it was Partners.
Wow.
It was Partners. Yeah, I went there a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that, you know, you was African American back then. They had rent houses and businesses too.
Yeah.
It wasn't the money they getting now, but yeah, since a great guy.
Well, Donnie Freeman had a son and a daughter that, if I'm not mistaken, went to Lake Highlands High School. And they were more off. I think one of maybe both of them was off into tennis. And I didn't know where Donnie Freeman had stayed. You talking about, everybody talk about James, what's this kid name? This young man name? The kid that everybody talk, one with the beard, James Harden.
James Harden.
Mm-hmm. James Harden. You talk about him. Look at Donnie Freeman. You know, everybody talk about a 3-point shooter. Donnie Freeman, man,
he's been doing that.
Yeah. And then Paul Silas not only played for the Chaparrals, but when they moved to San Antonio, he was still with them as the point guard. People don't remember that. And people don't even know that Larry Brown, that coached out at SMU, played 6 or 7 years of professional basketball, was a point guard for the Dallas Chaparrals. Shout out to Larry Brown.
One thing that you said about James Harden, the beard, I never forget that one thing about integration, that when black folks start going, especially an athlete, is that the white coaches try to make them military.
Yeah.
And they had a shave, and they couldn't have no facial hair and all that. But I never get one of my coaches, one of my coaches at Dalworth High School in Grand Prairie, Texas. He always said, I ain't never seen a beard, you tripped over a beard to make a touchdown. So that had nothing to do with your game. You see what I'm saying?
With your game. Yeah.
Nothing.
And these guys had froze. These guys
mustaches.
That
had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Artist Gilmore had a goatee.
Yeah.
Dr. J had a goatee.
Yeah, they had nothing to do with it. But sometimes they try to put you in a box.
It was their world during that time.
It was their world. You're right.
And that's what they saw, and that's what they projected it to be. Because now we all talk about the basketball coach, Phil Jackson, who had an awkward basketball career, played with the New York Knicks, looked like awkward Phil. Mm-hmm. He was a good coach and probably still is, but even he had his issues with black athletes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because he had his issues with Dennis Rodman, and people say, well, how do you know this? Hey, just look at 30 for 30.
Well, one thing that he had a problem with, and I think he took a bite out of whoever started it, out of Jimmy Johnson and Parcells book.
Of course.
Those guys gonna show up. It's that tier B and tier 2 and tier 3 guy you got to worry about.
Yeah.
This tier 1 guy, no matter what Rodman gonna do, he gonna show up and show out.
Yeah.
And that's how Parcells felt about Lawrence Taylor. I ain't worrying about he gonna show up.
He gonna show up.
He gonna show out.
Yeah.
So you leave them guys alone.
Yeah.
When they mess up, they gonna come tell you, hey, coach, I'm messing up. I need to do this with that.
Yeah.
They gonna tell you.
But look at what happened to Hollywood Henderson. Had he not did that, I ain't gonna say he was doing anything, any antics on the sideline. He was hyping up a towel that Preston Pearson did what? Wanted him to do, So he was on the sideline. Instead of him being focused, he started pointing down at the towel, and somebody saw it. One of the, white assistant coaches saw it at that time, made an issue out of it. Well, and Landry, by that Monday, they was playing the Washington Redskins, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they lost. And Landry called him in. And somebody, I don't know if it was Jerry Tubbs, which was a linebackers coach at that time, out of Breckenridge, Texas, that went to University of Oklahoma.
Number 5 in your program, he used to be a middle linebacker for the Cowboys.
Yeah, was a Pro Bowler.
But one thing about Thomas Hollywood Henderson from Langston University, who number 56.
Out of Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas, exactly. Another PVL school that he went to.
That's
Austin
right.
Anderson.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Great athlete.
Great athlete. But one of the thing about, you talk about Thomas Hollywood Henderson.
Big Night Train Lane.
What he doing right now, Thomas Henderson, is what they do now. They make a tackle, they run to the end zone, find the camera, and celebrate.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy, but that's what he been doing. You said he was the guy who started it.
Yeah.
Now the NFL want it. Yeah. First, they throw flag. You don't need that in there.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. You can't do this. You can't do that.
But now, what he was doing now.
Yeah. Well, he dunked. He went up and dunked
the ball over
the goalpost. Guess who did it a few years later? Alvin Harper, number 8 in your program. When the Cowboys went to their first Super Bowl, he caught a touchdown pass in the playoff against Green Bay or either San Francisco. Guess what he did? He caught an 80-yard pass. If I'm not mistaken, he went and dunked over the what? The goalpost.
And I think that's one of the things about culturally what's happening now that the NBA, NFL, and all these major sports organization. I may be old school, but I'm still new school.
Right.
They getting it is that the culture of Black people is by celebration.
That's what we do.
It's from Africa. That's where we come. We celebrate.
We celebrate. If you look at any African documents from the motherland, from Africa, we're celebrating stuff. We celebrate births.
Yeah.
We celebrate deaths. We celebrate, different type of
even
events.
our music, like gospel, we celebrate.
We celebrate that. It's just like gospel music is something that it's just in our spirit. It's in our soul.
Right.
We celebrate that. A lot of artists will go to churches just to see how we celebrate it, to get a head start on their careers.
Yeah, and I think in the culture of the sports, these major corporations, as far as sports entities, they getting it now.
Oh yeah,
because we talk about the PVL, the Prairie View League compared to UIL, is that the Prairie View League also about academics.
It was about academics, man. Because you had to go to class.
You had to go to class. Yeah.
Coaches was your disciplinarian.
Oh yeah.
They were those guys. You didn't have, nobody had to walk the halls and tell you to go to class. Coach Wayman Holly, give a shout out to him and his family from Booker T High School.
Well, I didn't realize it. If he would bring up that graphic in 1958, if he bring that graphic, I had brought it up because me and you got something in common. I brought that year up in 58. I didn't realize him as a track coach. He won state a couple of times in football. He was a head football coach.
Yeah.
Raymond E.
Holly. He was a
famous. Yeah, he was known for. You hear his name around the country, you think track.
Yeah. Well, before he became that, he was an All-American running back at Morgan State
in Baltimore. Maryland. Wow.
Yeah. See,
wow.
People didn't even know that. And he also trained.
And I forgot. You told me the story how he got here or something?
He got here after the Olympics.
In Texas. Got here in Texas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, he went to the military. You know, those guys did. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any professional contracts offered at that time. Mm-hmm. He came here behind a lady and was staying at the YMCA. And someone said that, hey, look, once you get into coaching, somebody knew him. Back in the day, you had connections.
Yeah, connection. Yeah.
You stayed basically.
Yeah, networking ain't a new word. It ain't a new word.
No, it's not a new word.
It's been around.
You stayed in the Black community. And somebody, if they gave you their word and say, hey, I'm going to help you, you best believe that was their bond at that time. So they helped him. And he got the job at Booker T coaching not only track, but football. He coached one of the greatest sprinters that ever lived, ever came through Dallas, Bo Lyndon Johnson, class of 1963 or 64. Bo will tell you, Bo got the bone and gone. That was the thing with Bo. Bo Lyndon Johnson was ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. Bo Lyndon Johnson went to 2 Olympics. We don't even know that. But was Olympic qualified twice.
When you speak of that, when you and I talk, a guy who did go to Olympic trials, his son, his great friend, Stone Johnson. Dwight. Wow. Dwight. His son name is Dwight.
Got to get him on the show.
Getting it on the show, and he got inducted to some Hall of Fame, and that's Dwight had to go represent him. But when you're talking about Raymond E. Holly, and let me just say this: it's one word. No matter where you go, it's in white and Black, but it really stands out in Black coaches. When you say coach, that's one name that everybody got there. Cause nobody, they're gonna say 2 things: Coach Holly, or Mr. Holly.
Or Mr. Holly.
Ain't no Raymond. You better not. You bet. I done seen guy. I was a young guy, and I met this legend, Coach Holly. And I go to the football game, and all these guys would be around him,
gravitating to
Mr.
him.
Blair, and I see a guy like they was in their 30s and 40s, and I was a young guy about 19, 20. They saying Coach Holly, Coach Holly.
You probably younger than that.
I probably, but they saying Coach Holly, Coach Holly.
I forgot you a baby spider. You probably younger than that.
What got me is that when I realized the weight
he carried
that a Black coach really carry, and it's just something just universal, and like the pros will come back.
Yes.
Hey, Coach Holly, Holly, no matter who they may be, Coach Holly, no matter what their stature may be, how much money they made, how many cars they got, how many houses they got.
They came back.
But it was just that weight, and I'm not gonna think on. I know for a fact is that you and I, we came from a great household. we probably had our dad, stepdad here. But one thing about a black coach, and you don't hear that now, and I get pissed off when I hear that a black athlete, the white coach always had to be the father figure.
Yeah.
It was so many coaches who were black father figures to so many black athletes that they never get the credit.
Coach Newhouse was mine in track and over at Woodrow Wilson. Shout out to him, Lucius Newhouse. His brother Fred Newhouse was an Olympian. And he was always coach to me to this day. If coach said, hey, man, what are you doing? Straighten up. Man, I straighten up right now in this seat, Spot. I straighten up in this seat right now. As old as I am, he walked through that door right now. It would be an honor to sit and just see him, you know, because he meant that much to me in my life. And other men, and, you know, people say, well, you know, other people mean that much to you. They did. They really honestly did. But Coach stood out. Okay, I'll give you another one. Coach Grant. Charlie Taylor came to town all the time. People, the great Charles Taylor,
it's so,
out of your hometown.
It's so great. If he bring up that graphic showing that 1958 state championship team, if our producer can bring up that graphic, and just good segue, producer, Brian.
There it is.
No, not that one. That's I Am Terrell. It's a 1958 state championship. It'll show, you should see something said 1958, and it show 1A, 2A, and 3A. If he can bring it up. And it's so ironic to hear you say that. Well, anyway, Boston Grant, they lost 26-24 to somebody. Charlie Taylor was on that team. And then that same year, what's their name? No, not that one. No, not that one. Not that one. It's another one. It should show this 1958 state championship team. A championship game. It's not in there? Wow, I don't have that. Well, anyway, it showed there. You said Coach Boston Grant.
Yes, sir.
Who was coach. And when you see him wherever it may be at, he had so many good athletes come through. But people don't know Charlie Taylor was, well, I came from Grand Prairie. He was our Barack Obama. I mean, we were so proud. He went to the pros.
Yes.
He went to Arizona State.
Yeah.
And you know, coming from now remember, is that Dallas Lincoln and I Am Terrell and all those schools, they was 3A and 4A.
Right.
Dallas, Grand Prairie was a 1A. When I said 1A, I used to watch those guys. I was a little guy. When the offense go back on defense, they'd change helmet. They have enough helmets.
That was the same guy.
So, the defense guy and the offense guy had share helmets.
Really?
Because they have enough helmets.
Wow.
As a 1A school, you poor, you got this, you got uniform, you ain't got that money. But here, Charlie Taylor came in from a 1A black school and get an offer from Arizona State University.
Tell them about people talk about Deebo Samuel today.
Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver for the 49ers.
Yeah. Before Deebo.
Oh, yeah.
Number 42 in your program. And later became the receivers coach with the Redskins. But that was Charles Taylor.
And this is the thing about it. They making these switches now. They say, well, you guys, y'all old school. Yes, but I'm real school.
That's
real. Maybe old school.
Yeah.
This guy was number 42. He got a scholarship as a running back.
Yes.
As a running back, he became first team all whatever it was in the pack. He
was all conference.
All conference.
Yes. First team.
But the thing about him, running backs weren't known to be 6'2", 6'3", because they get their knees hit.
Yeah.
But he knew, like Gail said, they knew how to cut.
Yeah.
They knew how to get ball down. They knew how to, sometimes you can't catch him.
Well, he had a long stride.
Long stride.
See, and like you said, his ability, his peripheral vision was so phenomenal that he knew how to cut. And he could sense somebody coming up. I heard him talk one time. He said he could sense somebody coming up behind him and how close they were. A lot of running backs don't have that today.
But this is so ironic. I'm young, and I remember, cause I'm a buff back then. I always reading stuff and looking. But one thing about it, a lot of folks may not know this. Don't look up the history. When he got drafted by the Redskins,
In the first round.
In the first round, he played 1 season running back.
Sure did.
Otto Graham switched him over to wide receiver.
Yeah.
Where he became a Hall of Famer.
And people don't even know this about him. I'm going to give you another novelty about him. He was the place kicker.
Yes. You're right.
I said, now Spider going to have to remember this. He was the place kicker. And people don't even know that he played 3 positions.
Well, matter of fact, let's bring up that all-time PVIL all-pro league. Bring that up. But that graphic that you bring, then we're going to bring the people. Let the people see who we're talking about. So you got Charlie Taylor, Warren Wells, Cliff
number
Branch.
89.
Yeah, Cliff Branch,
Jerry Levitas.
But we're gonna do picture by picture. Then we'll expand on this for the Houston Quantity. Go ahead, producer, bring them up those photos.
Kenny Houston, Lufkin Dunbar, Houston Oilers, out of Prairie View A&M University in the Hall of Fame.
Let me tell you my most memorable Kenny Houston story. Monday Night Football.
I know you're gonna see it.
Cowboys and Redskins.
Yep.
It's a 3rd or 4th down.
Yep.
It was Dorsett or some running back. One Dorsett.
Walt Garrison.
All
he needed to do was get to the end zone. They would have won the game.
They won the game. Kenny Houston.
But you know he went to Redskins, don't you? Before he went to the Oilers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He with Charles.
Yeah. So he stopped him. On Monday night, that's my Kenny Houston story.
Yep.
And bring him back up. And the other thing is this. I like to touch on this. We bring that Lufkin Dunbar.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. Most black schools would name after Booker T or Dunbar.
Yeah.
And no matter what city you was in.
Yeah.
Okay,
whatever city you was in. And then his coach was Coach Elmer Red. I think it was out of Lufkin that coached the numerous. He had a lot of talent in Lufkin. Mm-hmm. And so, and it trickled all the way down to like, I'll say the 70s, maybe the early 80s.
But you just said that about Debo Salmon, all this hype about him going from running back to safety. But Kenny Houston plays corner and safety.
Kenny Houston was, and wasn't a big guy. He was like 6'2", maybe a little bit, about 180,
compared
185?
To now, yeah.
Yeah, compared to what these guys are now. Back then, that was a big guy. But you go all the way back to that type of football player, and he was taken in the late round. Where he almost was like a free agent. Yeah. But even back then they had like you could go all the way down to the 17th, I think 20th pick,
a lot of
like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And seeing that was just basically today would be these guys that you signed after the draft.
That, free
because
agent.
You only got 7 rounds in the draft. People don't even know that.
Yeah. I want all that.
Yeah. So these guys, a lot of these guys, even though they got drafted, it was no guarantee these guys gonna make the team. Look at and I get appalled to all these people at Lincoln High School. Yeah, I'm calling out Lincoln. And the funny part about that, Dallas Lincoln, they remember the Pouncey twins. Few might remember Dwayne Thomas, but they don't remember Charles Choo Choo Brackens. Mm-hmm. There was not only all-state quarterback at Lincoln, but he was also an all-state sprinter. And these guys all know this. His number one target at that particular time was Robert Thomas that coached over at Pearl C. Anderson High School. That was a part of integration that also coached at Roosevelt and coached J.J. John Jefferson.
And became one of the top DISD and one of the athletic directors in DISD. In the Dallas Independent School District.
He was Choo Choo Bracken's favorite target.
Right.
Choo Choo went on to Prairie View.
And one of them, and then went to Green Bay, didn't he?
Got drafted in the 20-something round at Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. In the cold.
Yeah. Stayed a year with Green Bay, and Green Bay let him play quarterback during the preseason, but they didn't want to have any animosity toward their fans or anything like that. Right. So they switched him to running back.
Yeah.
And they said, but Choo Choo, and he in his own story, and he said in his own demise, he self-destructed himself. Yeah. Back there, them cats, they partied hard. Let's call it spade a spade. A lot of these guys were ladies' men. A lot of these guys partied a lot.
Yeah.
And they didn't take their training as seriously as they should have. And they would tell you that.
They tell you. Who else you got there, producer? We going back. This is one of my favorite. And this what got me about Otis Taylor from Houston Worthington.
Quarterback.
He was a quarterback.
Yeah.
That became a Hall of Fame wide receiver. So all this Debo Samuel stuff, I guess. And when you brought up Otis Taylor, they won the 1971 Super Bowl. They beat Minnesota, and they called that play with Hank Stram. number 89, and the guy missed the tackle.
Yep.
I think it was Kraft, but he went to Prairie View as well. There's 2 Prairie View guys.
2 Prairie View guys in the Hall of Fame.
But this guy here was a quarterback. I didn't know this till I was doing the research. I didn't know till last night.
Yeah, he was a quarterback. Matter of fact, when he got to Prairie View, they switched him. If I'm not mistaken, now somebody else might know the story a little bit better.
Yeah, they switched him. Yeah, he was a quarterback.
Yeah, he was a quarterback.
Everything in high school.
They switched him wide receiver. He just took off.
Yeah.
You talking about a guy, you talking about all these wide receivers, you talk about
do a position.
This kid, Metcalf out of Seattle. Everybody said, well, you going back in time. We just giving you some history. This guy was like 6'4", weighed 220.
220. But when you say that, I get appalled when I see Zeke Elliott can't catch.
I get appalled when you see Zeke Elliott is done.
Oh, he done.
Zeke Elliott was done, and people don't even realize this was done after his first 3 years with Dallas because they ran him in the ground. Look at Ohio State. When Zeke was at Ohio State, what did they do? For his first 3 years, he got over 1,000 yards. He got 1,600 yards. His last year at Ohio State came to the Cowboys when he was showing off his six-pack. And in 3 years, Zeke was done. Zeke bodies wore out, people.
Oh, yeah. But see, the thing is that you got the Boston Grants and you got the Coach Holly and all these black coaches.
Let me say this about Boston. Hold your thought. People think Boston Grant started at South Oak Cliff.
No.
He did not. Boston Grant, if you listen to him, he's told a story at every track meet we went to. He told his story, how he got started.
And also, Coach Grant was a science teacher.
Coach Grant was smart.
He's smart, yeah. But to go back to that, is that one thing about Coach Grant and Coach Reed and Coach Holland, all these coaches, Zeke Elliott, no matter how good a running back, they're gonna throw that ball. You can't catch that ball off their backfield. You can't get on my team.
You can't start.
You can't start for me.
You can't start for them.
You got to be dual.
Yes. Dwayne Thomas was a receiver before they switched him to running back at Lincoln High School.
I just found this out.
See, people don't even, if you know your school, know your history about your school. And that's the only thing I'm saying about my Lincoln fans. They'll come on, you have other people come on.
Matter of fact, there he is right there.
There he is right there. The great Dwayne Thomas.
Now, he the first 33, not Dorsett.
No, he's the first 33. Dwayne. The first game he played in, Dwayne got over 140-some yards rushing. Couldn't nobody tackle him. When he played against New England, they started him against New England. He went off when they was at Texas Stadium. He went off. He had something like 2 or 3 touchdowns, over 140-some yards rushing.
And here's a guy who's a receiver, moved a running back, may had issues, we don't know back then, but the best he can get was West Texas State. That's what he wound up going, right?
Yeah, he went to West Texas State, and his dad, the story was that his dad had 3 sons. And the coach came and sit down in Dwayne's living room off of Baldwin Street in East Dallas. And I knew some people over there that knew the Thomas family because his dad ran a funeral home. The funeral home still exists today. Came over. And this big coach said, Coach Kirby or Crable or something like that, sit down, and brought his whole family and sit down in their living room and said, I need your son. Just told his daddy like that. Dad said, what you offer? He said, I ain't offering him nothing but education. He said, but I need your son to play football. His dad said, he said, you got him. Because he said everybody else that came into Dwayne's home was offering something. All the other coaches that came. That's why you said, well, why he only went to West State? Because all the other coaches, his dad didn't trust because they were offering things to him. And his dad knew that he said, okay, my son is not for sale. Get out. He tell him all the time. He said, my son is not for sale. Get out. And he asked Crable, he said, what are you offering? He brought his wife and his 3 kids. He said, I ain't offering him nothing but education. He said, he can come with me right now. He said, he getting to, get back there with my kid, put his suitcase back there in the car. I'll take him back now. He said, Dad said, you got him and his other 2. You got his brother, Franklin Thomas, who was a hell of a hurdler, Lincoln, and also played on the offensive line. So these are things that his dad had ethics back then. Dwayne's father had, ethics back then. His son wasn't for sale. And I hear kids, parents talk all the time, well, how much you offer my son? You ought to be thankful that they offer them education.
Educate. That was the key for black men
That was
back then.
Yes.
I'm going for education.
I'm going for education.
I ain't going for the pros. Kids now want to go for the pros.
Yeah.
You go for education. Who else you got, producer?
Gene Upshaw.
This is something that got me. Where is Robstown, Texas?
Robstown, Texas, I don't know.
I think somewhere down south. Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere down south. I don't know. I never even heard of Robstown, Texas till I met Gene Upshaw.
At Gene Upshaw, then he got his brother, Marvin Upshaw. I think we got him. So for them, can you imagine what the competition was in that family?
Oh, man. One played for the Raiders and one played for the Chiefs.
And they were rivals.
And
one was offensive line and one was defensive line. So that means they had to hit each other.
Woo.
But they were used to hitting each other at home, in practice.
Well, there was some big dudes.
Some big dude, yeah.
There wasn't no little bitty guys. You're not talking about some guy that was maybe, 5'9", 5'10", 170. You talking about them guys were like 6'4" and 6'5". Look at the Smith brothers.
Yeah, Bubba and Toby Smith.
Yeah.
So, I'm just fascinated when I do my research about the high school. Give me somebody about the schools. I guess you and I, they transferred us to the integration, but I love, because my school, Dalworth, we were grade 1 through 12.
Man. Willis Johnson talked about Dalworth all the time.
Yeah.
But you know who started talking to me about Dalworth? It was Coach Boston Grant.
Coach Fett, we call him Fess. Yeah.
Fess started talking about that back then.
Yeah, we grade 1 through 12. I was in the first grade all the way through.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a high school.
Really? You was in the first grade?
First grade.
At Dalworth?
At 1 through 12.
Get out of here.
1 through 12. Then they integrated, they cut us down from 1 through 8. Then the 9th and 10th graders at 9 to 12 to go to Grand Prairie High.
Y'all, this
the
is
white
history.
School.
Spider giving y'all some history.
And then after that, the junior high to go to Lincoln, then they made out of elementary. They kept breaking us down.
Why was that, Spider? Let me ask you a
question. Because integration, back then we thought that, okay, then we go to the white school. We go to white school, we'll be smarter and better. But no, it just took some of our culture away.
It did.
And for us, in the first, second, third grade in the high school going on, we go to the pep rally. The whole school goes to the pep rally. First grader? Everybody go to pep rally. Everybody.
And y'all hear the big drums.
Everything. Everybody. Wow. The whole school go to pep rally. No, we're a B school.
Yeah.
We small. Everybody fit in the gym. Both, in the gym, everything. Everybody go. Everybody a part. So as kids, don't come to me about South Lake Carroll here in Dallas or Trinity Euless or the Katy.
Right.
Black school always had programs.
Yes.
I mean, the little kids all the way up to the community, everybody saw that program.
Yeah. I give you time when we went to we used to go up to Lincoln and Madison and watch them practice.
Yes.
It was a privilege.
Yes.
To go up to Madison and watch Dwight White.
Mad
great
Dog.
Dwight White. Yeah, Mad Dog. That played at East Texas State University with Harvey Martin. South Oak Cliff.
I think we got a Harvey Martin.
Yeah, man. It was amazing just to sit back and they would tell you, get back, baby, get back. And we said, there he is, the great Harvey Martin out of South Oak Cliff, MVP, Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl.
79.
79.
Now tell me a little history about him. Now, that's not his mother married again or something?
Harvey Banks Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, she remarried, and he also took the name of his grandparents.
Oh, okay.
He had some grandparents, and he took that name. Yeah. Harvey, man, and we don't know how many sacks Harvey actually had. And we talk about what's his name, Reggie White, and those guys. And I do respect it, to the minister.
Well, one thing about Harvey Martin, the people think of Dallas South Oak Cliff. They known for their basketball and their football and their proudness, but Harvey Martin really was from South Dallas.
Really was South. That's right.
But the migration of that time where black folks were moving to Oak Cliff, which is a suburb of Dallas, and because Dallas South Oak Cliff is open as a white school.
Yeah,
it was a white school.
Yeah, because Mike Livingston, who later quarterback out at SMU, later went to the Chiefs a little bit.
Kansas City
Chiefs was the star quarterback over there. Yeah.
Who else you got over there for us producer?
There you
now this Joe what Green I didn't know. Temple Dunbar. I go through Temple going to Austin, San Antonio
all the time.
I never knew that he from Temple High School.
Well, peep this. I never knew that
Mean Joe.
It was the Temple Dunbars.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Who
did they play?
And that's what got me. That what gets me my research. It was black high school in that town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna blow your mind. Waco had 2 black schools,
Waco Moore
and
Carver.
Carver. That later became, it's an elementary school now, but later got bumped all the way down to a junior high. Then from a junior high to elementary school.
Well, like
Rodrigo Barnes, which school there?
Well, for the mega schools, for people who watching this podcast, the mega school, we can speak of Texas and maybe the Dallas-Fort Worth area, is that you had 2 schools. You had I.M. Trail, which is in Fort Worth, and Booker T, but everybody in the surrounding area, you had to go find a ride or catch a bus to go to those schools.
Yeah.
And Fort Worth had another school called Kirkpatrick.
People don't know about that.
On the north side of Fort Worth, which was predominantly black. And that area, then Fort Worth Dunbar came along. But as the migration grew, it was factory jobs in Fort Worth. And so this would give
us a brief scenario.
It would get me
people don't understand
how time is changing. If people say, oh, everybody moving to Dallas and Fort Worth and North Texas. No, it happened then because wherever jobs are, people come to have a better life.
That's it.
And black folks were having better life. At like General Dynamics is a big aircraft company.
Forgot about that.
They had Newhoff. What's that place? Newhoff.
Where you get your bacon.
Your bacon.
Yeah.
They had all these. So these guys, these families were moving to Fort Worth. And so when you move and you bring family, you need more schools.
Well, Procter & Gamble.
Yeah, Procter & Gamble.
Where they created, where they made the soap right there on Lamar.
That's one of the biggest factories I ever seen in my life. Now I never seen a big factory like in upstate, like up in Toledo, Michigan, But for us and me as a young kid, when I'm going to South Dallas, I was little, I see this big. I said, what they doing there? See, they make soap and do everything. Yeah, at Procter & Gamble.
I'm gonna blow your mind on this one, and I know you remember. You old enough to remember. Now you might have been in junior high school or getting to junior high school. That's why I say I know you all enough to remember. The Ford Company over there in East Dallas.
Yes. No, I don't remember. Someone showed me where it used to be.
Yes.
Only thing I ever know by living in Grand Prairie was General Motors.
Yeah.
Which
we had the Ford Company, which was maybe down the street, a couple of blocks from where I grew up. And and I'm gonna give you another one. It was the RC plant, RC Soda.
The soda.
Yes. We used to go, it was a company that ran that plant over in East Dallas. So you had a couple of plants besides, now you got Shep's Dairy and things like that. But before Shep Dairy got there, you had the Ford Motor Company and you had like I said, you had places.
This was so ironic as you and I, we both worked for DISD, that's Dallas Independent School District, before we retired. But one thing on my last stop was Bryan Adams High School, to hear you say that. So one of the guys who are historian for Bryan Adams High School, which is high school next in East Dallas, and he told me the story. The reason General Motors, Ford would build there, people was coming to Dallas for those jobs. So Bryan Adams was the biggest high school at that time because all the homes they were building in East Dallas, because everybody worked at Ford. So at one time, even in the 60s, they had 3,000 students at Bryan Adams.
Because
that was big.
Because their parents worked.
They worked for General Motors.
Yeah, went for.
For Ford.
Yeah.
And Ford, and they had just they just opened up 30 or trying to widen 30, the Interstate 30.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But when you ride over there, it's so many homes over there, it never was apartments.
Well, look at where I grew up, Dolphin Road.
Yeah, Dolphin Road.
Yeah, you could walk to the Ford Motor Company.
Get that light for me, producer. And what now?
You could walk to the Ford Motor Company. We used to just do that. We were kids just exploring.
I wish I would have saw that.
We just walked there to the Ford Motor Company, man, and just watched them bring new cars in all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing that was something as kids that we used to see.
You see that?
Yeah. And people don't remember that.
And we should see the cars going out at General Motors on the train because we live by the train tracks. So when they build a car, and that's something. If you're a black man and you got hired at Ford or General Motors back then,
that was saying something.
That's saying something.
That was saying something. I mean, you had some money.
You had to be no janitor, or go clean up somebody's house, or be their yard man. No, you had a job.
Man, my mother had one of her friends' husband worked there, and man, that cat. We looked at him all the time. We looked up to him because of the job that he had. What he represented in the community by working for Ford Motor Company right there in East Dallas.
Right.
And people don't even remember that.
But who else you got there producing? Because this bring up so much when we just go back.
Jerry Levias, SMU, reverse
Beaumont
black player.
Herbert High School. Now, tell a little story about Jerry Levias. And he went to Southern Methodist University here in Dallas, Texas, a prestigious private white school.
Yeah.
Was he the? And it was a Southwest Conference.
Southwest Conference at that time.
Now, was he the first? He was the first.
Yeah.
The first
Fry.
He was the first African American played in the Southwest Conference.
He was the first,
which is now the Big 12.
Which is now the Big 12.
Wow.
Hayden Fry was the one that went and recruited him. You know, when he was a small kid, he had polio.
You kidding me?
No, he had polio and had suffered 2 strokes.
You kidding me?
And then as he grew, his body got a little stronger. He started running track. And then from track,
so fast.
He started playing football. He came to SMU at 5'9", 155-pound receiver. Yes, sir. But yeah, Jerry Levias.
But I'm gonna go back to Beaumont Hubert.
Beaumont Hubert.
And what gets me is that's another thing that we talk about. He came as a what?
Came as a wide receiver.
But he played running back.
He played running back.
So I'm going back is that for African-American black schools during that time, you had to be dual. It wasn't no such thing as that my daddy said, I ain't supposed to be no receiver. I can't play cornerback. I can't play running back.
He played running back at 150-some pounds. And don't you know he also returned kicks? People don't you know that about Jerry Levias. He was a heck of a kick returner. If I'm not mistaken, SMU is some records that he still holds today. When he was in college,
the original 23,
where they get the pride. It's a pride jersey now they give to all seniors in his honor. But he had returned 2 or 3 touchdowns in his career as a kick returner. People don't even know that about Jerry Levias. He led the nation in receiving his senior year at SMU.
And there's something that you excelling at a place where they don't want you.
You excel
the school, the conference, the fans, and you steady just running touchdowns and doing your thing.
Man, and he never, ever got hurt. Because he said they couldn't catch me. He said, man, they used to call him all kind of names, but they couldn't catch him. At 5'9", 165 pounds, you couldn't catch the guy. He was so quick. They said the only thing you could see was the bottom of his cleat. And when he would get, when he got to SMU, he found out where Southern Dallas was, where most of the black people live, so he could have a getaway. And there was always a family that sponsored him. People don't know that sponsored him. He could go over there and get away from them, go eat some good home-cooked food and get away and see some of South Dallas.
And one thing I did know about Jerry Levias, he did graduate with a degree, whatever his degree was. Very smart.
Very smart man, and was very smart and influential in the business area in Houston. Yeah.
Who else you got producer for us?
Miller Farr was a defensive back for the St. Louis Rams.
Another Herbert
guy.
Now his brother Mel Farr
was the running back for Detroit Lions, number 23 in your program.
Yeah.
But we talk about 24.
Yeah.
That's right, 24. Yeah. But now we talk about who? Barry Sanders. See, before Barry Sanders, it was who? Billy Sims. Number 20 in your program as well. And then, you talk about them, but you forgot about Mel Farr.
Mel Farr.
Went to UCLA. They got out of Texas.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
How did they get out of Texas? Him and his brother, they went to UCLA, and they are first cousins to Jerry Levias.
But it's the other part that gets me about that. The Miller brother, the Farr brother, Miller and Mel, is that, and it just gets to me when I think about this National Signing Day, is that can you imagine with social media and National Signing Day what these guys in NIL would look like, what they call that new thing? Their popularity would be like.
Their popularity would have been off the charts, man.
Here's some guys from a 3A school in Houston, Texas, at UCLA, the school that Jackie Robinson went to.
Yeah. Jackie Robinson and what's his other running back? Kenny Washington, Woody Stroud, all those guys, man.
But here these guys wound up at UCLA, which was prejudice out there in California too.
Was. Let's be realistic. They had issues out there because the Panther Party had, you had to get the Panther Party together to confront a lot of those, racist things that was going on in the community. which started out, with Dr. Newton. Everybody said, who's Dr. Newton? Dr. Huey Newton, that started the Black Panther Party along with Bobby Seals, who was from Dallas. People don't even know that. Started the Black Panther Party in 1966, rolled over to 1967 in Oakland, California, because of police brutality that was going on with, as we know it today, that was going on back then in the 60s. All you've got to do is look at your movie stuff. This is Black History Month. All you got to do is watch TV.
Sure, yeah.
You stop looking to be entertained. Sometimes start looking and seeing a little bit of the history that was going on. And we're not on the show.
No.
We're not knocking white society and things
like that. It's just the way it was.
It was the way it was. And you had the white society, you had a lot of them that sponsored a lot of the events that you're able to do right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they sponsored with their own dollars because a lot of them knew and understood what was going on, and they didn't appreciate it because they had became awakened. They had saw what was going on, but it was not enough of them to come forward and say, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
You had a lot of, people out there, man, that just really, honestly, didn't stand for that.
Yeah.
I had a teacher that came to me back when I was in junior high school at Robert T. Hill. Miss Anderson was her name. She was white. And she came, I would come to her class every day. She taught English. And she would have me to sit on the front row. Hated it. Like, man.
Close to the fire.
Yeah, hated it. And she would always ask me a question. Hated it. But I noticed one thing. When she asked me a question, she never put me down or said my answers were wrong. She always said, I know you participate in sports, but she said, I want you to understand one thing. I don't want you to ever think that it's acceptable to be a dumb athlete. I went home and told my mother because I thought it was offensive. My mother said, you crazy? She said, what she's doing, she's giving you a compliment. She's teaching you not to feel inferior.
Get ready for the world.
Yeah, because the rest of the world will see you differently.
Differently, yeah.
The further you go and the further you excel and the further you are blessed to go, they will see you as that. And they say once you get in front of a microphone, Red Fox even said this on Sanford and Son. He said, any idiot that's black that just retired from sports, what do they do to him? Put him in front of the world to see with a microphone in his face. Now, Red Fox said that, y'all. This is what he said on Sanford and Son. Now, even though we laugh at what he said,
it's realistic.
But yeah, it's realistic on what Fred Sanford was saying at that time. You take an athlete, and the first thing you put in front of him is a microphone.
Well, he don't have time to process it now.
He don't have time. Yeah.
Yeah. Next thing, think he supposed to have an answer.
Yeah.
Who else you got producer for? I just love this.
Man, I'm eating this up, man.
I'm eating it up.
This is crazy. Oh, Dick Night Train Lane.
And you talked about it.
Yeah.
And when you had talked about it, tell me about Austin Anderson.
Austin Anderson, man, was one of those schools that had mega athletes. They were known for their track. And when you were known for your track, these are the things that people understand that coaches not only coach track, they coach football. His name was Dick Night Train Lane, but he was married to Diana Washington. She was a star singer at that time. And Dick was like her number 6th or 7th husband at that time. But Dick Night Train Lane went into the Hall of Fame in the 1980s as one of the top interceptors in the NFL. He intercepted passes in the NFL. Dick played not only with the Detroit Lions, he also played with the LA Rams. And then he got traded, if I'm not mistaken, to Detroit. So some of these things, like I said, we might be off base a little bit, but some of these things that we have to, we're not off base with. Some of these things that we do know. Some of these things we're up to date on. And you talking about the big corners, the big safeties. Dick Night Train Lane was that. You talk about the Patrick Petersons and people like that. Dick Night Train Lane was that big guy. Here's a guy that could, pick a pass off with one hand and keep going.
Right.
Yeah. He married Diana Washington. People don't even know it. He married a superstar. She was a superstar at that time. She OD'd in 1939. I mean, when she was 39 years old, she had 2 sons.
One of the world's greatest voices of all time.
All time. We talk.
Yeah. We talk Anita Baker. We talk all the other folks.
Phyllis Hyman. Not your girl.
That's
Phyllis
my
Hyman.
girl.
No,
that's my girl.
She wasn't She was in that ballpark.
In that ballpark.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Coach, produce before we get out of here. We still got some ways to go. Go ahead and produce.
Oh, I just say I know time ain't running out, is it?
No, we got some
okay.
more. Producing and did some stuff for
this.
This is the one that got me.
I didn't know he was a quarterback at one time in high school.
Look what he did.
Yeah.
He just National Signing Day. This guy went to Michigan State.
Yeah. With Bubba Smith.
But let's look at that. He was national champ.
Yeah.
He was College Football Hall of Fame. He was two-time All-American receiver. He was hurdles. He was NCAA hurdles champ. He was drafted high. And what got me about it is that
went to play Minnesota Vikings.
But he also was a running back and a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And it's just what gets me is that all these guys we've been talking about been D1s.
These D1 guys.
When I was at Skyline, it was kids who had offered Abilene Christians and had offered, but they want to be a D1.
States. Yeah.
You need to go to school, get education. You're not D1 material.
When you was at
you
Skyline,
guys couldn't hold y'all weight if y'all had to go play with these guys.
Skyline at that time, I remember the year you were talking about, the years you was at Skyline. 1 year of Skyline, this is no lie.
2010 class.
2010 class had 22 players. Don't you know
they had
a kicker. They had a kicker. This is the one thing that got
the Hispanic kids.
Yeah. That was offered a soccer scholarship, but they had him assigned with the football team.
And North Texas.
And they counted him as one of the football signees, even though he was on a soccer scholarship.
But Gene Washington, not only that, he became a player association. He worked in the league too, didn't he?
Yes.
He worked for the NFL.
He worked for the NFL for some years.
For the corporate office.
Yes.
But it's just amazing that I was researching him. Ooh, and what was he from? He
Baytown. Baytown Carver. And I had family in Baytown, but I didn't know. And a lot of people didn't even talk about him.
I didn't know because it's gonna be
back in the 70s. I was there.
Some schools you're gonna be named after Dunbar, Carver, or Booker T.
Dr. George Washington Carver. Great scientist.
Yeah, as a black school, that way you're gonna be named after.
Yeah, Booker T. Washington was an educator.
Yeah. Go ahead, producer. Yeah. That's the one we talking about.
Oh man, we ain't got to say no more.
That's my
homeboy. That's your homeboy. We done gave everybody. I'm talking about the utmost history on this gentleman right here. I saw that guy in person 2 or 3 times.
And I found that program 25 cents. Because back then we had a program. Well, no, I looked it up, but I know the guy who over the Dalworth Alumni Association. He got in the program. Then you could get a picture of all the teams that had a picture. Who playing, the schedule, the cleaners, the sponsors, 25 cents for that program. 25. Now you go to a game, you can't get a program, you don't know who playing.
No, you don't. And you get a bunch of sponsors, but all you get is a roster and that's it. You might get some football game. You ain't get no pictures.
Don't give you nothing at the football game. Or you go in there.
No. But this guy right here, man, came along the time in high school when they was doing it. I remember they gave one, we went to a game in Waco Carver, and Waco Moore was playing. Don't you know and I wished I kicked myself for not buying it. Back then, it was 25 cents. But they had the team from team from Waco Carver on one end, and then they had the team from Waco Moore. And you had pictures of these guys. Because they named.
I wish I had some programs too.
And they numbers that they played.
That's what there was.
That's what they had on there, man. Yeah. And I thought that was just so amazing. I'm just looking and everything. Mark said, "No, give me that." He said, "You can't take that with you, man." Because I was all around. Mark said, "Hey."
Matter of fact, since you said that, I'm gonna go around and ask on the social media, you have any memorabilia for a program from football, like the Black High School in Denver, Denmore.
That was Denmore. Didn't know anything about that.
That's the high school. Yeah, Denmore, and then the other high school in Fort Worth for Kirkpatrick, I. M. Terrell, and then Dallas for Booker T and Lincoln.
Tyler was Emmett Scott.
Then, but Willis Johnson from Weldon.
Weldon was out of Gladewater.
Gladewater Weldon.
Gladewater, yeah.
It was a black school.
Great, Willie Darian went to school, who was a heck of a sprinter. That was the head coach, by the way, Roosevelt Mustang. At Dallas Roosevelt High School, where he was a heck of a sprinter and was an All-America sprinter and football player at Prairie View, and went to Chicago Bears for 2 or 3 years.
Sure did. Who else you got producer for us?
Warren Wells. You know Warren Wells?
That's the fourth Beaumont Hubert High School guy who played in the pro. I got another list he got. Number 81 your program for the Raiders. This is what got me about this guy, a big receiver.
Yeah.
When you look at the boy what's the boy for Seattle, the Metcalf?
Metcalf.
This was the guy before
DK Metcalf.
He before Metcalf.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy
Warren
right here.
Wells.
Oh, yeah, this guy here.
Yeah. Number 81 in your program.
Yeah.
Warren Wells could go deep. You had Otis. Just think about this. You had Otis Taylor with the Kansas City Chiefs.
He got 6'2", all these guys 6'2", 6'3".
6'2", 6'3". They tall. They big. They big receiver.
And we
they big receivers.
And folks think these big receivers just came on the scene last 20 years.
Yes.
They've been around.
They've been around. Look at Alfred Dennison that played with the Denver Broncos. He was a big receiver.
Mm-hmm.
You know, out of Denver, this cat was like something like 6'4", 6'5". Okay, look at my man that just passed away, 00. Kenny Burrow. Out of TSU. Was 6'5", 220. Ran a 9.4 in the 100-yard dash. People forget. They just think these big wide receivers just came in today.
They didn't wait. They didn't come for the bus.
Come on, man.
Right.
See, that's what that's called diluting your history. That's letting you know you don't know your history. Nobody's giving you this. You're not gonna get this on other radio stations.
No,
y'all better come on and get on this bandwagon, support us, and get us. Because, like I said, you're not gonna get this nowhere else.
What's the name of your show?
Coach's Corner. And ESPN is not gonna give you this. I challenge anybody from ESPN. And I'm not going to call any name, but y'all watch him all the time, along with the Cowboys' great Michael Irvin. You know who he is.
But I
challenge y'all.
They don't know about the history. And I got to jump in about this product. Sometimes that person who calling the shot don't think this is important for their audience, or they don't have the advertising dollar. They'll say, well, my advertisers, they don't want that. They don't want to see that.
But
and that's fine.
Look at the PVIL.
So
see, all the trophies and awards that we just touched on, and we're talking about it now, those awards are gone. The guy came down off the 1968 Booker T. Washington High School team that was coached by Wayman E. Holly. This guy was his star running back. Came out of Booker T in 67, 68. He was looking for all of his awards. I had to be the one to tell him that, man, your trophies no longer exist. He said, what do you mean? Him and a couple of his teammates came down to, I'm going to tell you where they came, 3700 Ross Avenue. And back in 2015 or 16, spot during the summer 2015 or 16, just as we were changing superintendents. They came down one day. They said, well, where can we go and find our memorabilia? I said, dudes, let me tell you, fellas, that no longer exists. Unless somebody got it, documented.
Documented.
I said, no. He said, what you mean, man? I played football under Coach Holly. Man, we want to know some of us. It no longer exists.
Yeah, oh boy. Who else you got there, producer?
People think we're making this stuff up.
Nah,
we know about this stuff.
That's why we bring it up to them so they can see it.
You're not going to get none of this.
Nah. Producer, who else you got? Because I know you had some more in there that we had there. But before we get in, you break down. We talk about Mel from Beaumont. Then you got some more. Run through some more. Then we're going to get him out of here.
I know our time is just about.
Oh, it's almost out of here, but.
Got Ernie Ladd, Gremlin, and later became a wrestler, but played with the Houston Oilers.
Orange, Texas.
And don't you know he was a receiver?
But did you know he made a career out of wrestling?
Yeah.
When he got through playing?
Yeah. And he was a coach. I'm gonna let you something before he passed away. Don't you know he was a coach at Gremlin?
Didn't know that.
He went to Gremlin as coach.
Didn't even know that.
Yes, sir.
But it's amazing. Just look at that. Orange, LaPorte, Port Arthur,
Willie Ray Smith Sr. coached him.
But Beaumont, all in that little
triangle. They call it a triangle.
All that all that area, all these athletes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They call it a triangle. You had all of that. Ernie Ladd was coached by Willie Ray Smith.
That's Billy and Toby dad, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And Billy Ray Jr., they call him Beaver, was a star running back on the team that Ernie Ladd played on. And Ernie Ladd was a receiver. You didn't know that, did you?
But you know what? You know who I would like to talk to?
Who's that?
The white coaches and scouts and say, how y'all go find these colored boys?
Hayden Fry has passed on now, and Hayden Fry left SMU and went to the University of Iowa. He had his sons here, Randy Fry and Hayden Fry Jr.
Mm-hmm.
They played here. I don't know whatever happened to them. I guess they gone on now. I mean, doing other things. But Hayden Fry came and sat in Jerry LaValle's grandmother's house. Think about it. And we go back to Woody Hayes when he went to when he was recruiting Rod Gerald out of South Oak Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
How he would go over to Reverend Gerald's church. I'm giving y'all some history. I'm bringing y'all up to date, South Oak Cliff. You know, y'all got pride and everything. Darwin Brown, all you guys that got this South, Elsie Jackson, Ricky Wessons, y'all got this South Oak Cliff pride. This is what Woody Hayes did. See, Bo Schembechler did the same thing.
Well, I think I look at this, and I know you're going to sign off, but I look at this I think about my favorite
Bear
people.
Bryant.
Now, Barry Switzer.
Barry Switzer.
And how he always said, I always went to recruit the black athlete because I always felt at home.
He was raised by a black family.
The food was always good.
He said him and his younger brother
I could spend the night.
Had it not been for this black family, this black kid's grandmother, they would have starved to death because his mother was an alcoholic, his dad was a gambler, and his mother later committed suicide because his dad infidelity. Read Bootleggers, boy. And then what had happened was they would have to go, they had to eat, and daddy would be off somewhere catting around, gambling, or doing, his infidelity.
So his black family
fed him and his younger brother. He said he cried as hard as the family did when that lady died. He said he walked in boo-hooing. See, that's what the history part about it, you don't know.
Yeah.
That's the underneath the ground that you don't. And guess who else was raised by a black family? You're going to be shocked. Skip Bayless.
Wow. I heard him a little bit talk about that lady on one of his podcasts. Miss what's it called? Her name, I forgot her name. He named
yes,
her.
Sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little hidden thing that people don't realize. When they see the big athlete or the big star, don't know what the journey they really been through. Yeah.
Let me say this before I sign off. Let me give some shout outs to my beautiful wife, Miss Vicky Williams. And I went to see Miss Roberts yesterday over at the Stretch Lab. She's going to come on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, she's still waiting on it. And then, some more guys. Murph, we got to get Murph on the show. Murph is another historian. Keith Jernigan, other guys.
I know you got a plethora of folks lined up.
Guys have been calling me.
They've been knocking, trying to get in.
Yeah, some of them we trying to get them in and get them on the schedule and everything. And like I said, Miss Roberts was by there, man, and she's anxious to get back on the show. Talk about what she's doing, how she's working with things.
You got any women coming on?
Yeah, her. Miss Roberts, she's coming, and then we working to get some more. I want my sister-in-law to come on, Miss Cheryl Rosenberg, to give us some indoctrination on kids going to school. You want your kid to go to school? There's scholarships out here. There's a lot of money out here, but we don't know nothing about it because we're not getting that information. Or by the time we get the information, it's too late. So I'm trying to get on the show. We want some ladies on the show. Ladies that want to be on the show, come on and be on this show. Talk to us. I know my wife not gonna come. She's kind of laid back,
Well, I just want to thank you for letting me be a part of the ride with you.
Man,
in the front seat. I'm not in the back seat, but thank you for letting me ride.
I thank you for wanting to ride with us. Because Spider, just used to drive.
I used to drive.
He drive fast. He don't like to slow down. He's just enough to let you get in, and Spider takes off again. Yeah. So Spider, it's been a blessing, man, and we're gonna do this again next week, man.
Okay, but thank you for letting me be a part.
2 o'clock, man.
Yeah,
exactly. Let everybody know 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Everybody said, why 2 o'clock? I got an older gentleman, and I'm gonna try my best to pull some
love that
string.
you do that.
Yeah, he's a Tuskegee Airman. Hello,
yeah,
Tuskegee Airman, and he stayed in the Air Force for 7 years, flew some missions in World War II. He don't like to take a lot of credit for it, but sometime every now and then he's in a talkative mood, and I try to get him out. And he had a cousin that played in old Negro leagues, and he's familiar with Mr. Bill Blair.
Wow.
So it's going to be, I'm going to try my best to get him on the show.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got some things coming up, y'all. Hey, get back on. Hey, we back in town. Frankie Beverly said we back in stride again.
Back in stride again.
Have a good one, y'all.